What if you've been carrying emotions, beliefs, even trauma that you picked up from your parents, your partners, people you don't even remember meeting? Today, I'm sitting down with Igor Galibov, a man who had such a sharp spiritual awakening that he couldn't even function in normal reality for years. He's gonna teach you how to feel energy in your hands, how to clear what's stuck in your field, and why the person you're dating might be draining you in ways you can't even see. If you've ever felt like something invisible is holding you back, this episode is gonna hit different. All right, everyone, thank you for joining us today. I'm super excited to have Igor Galibov with us today. We're gonna talk about some hot topics, also some controversial topics. And one thing that drew me to Igor was how he works with people in moving energy fields. And we all know that the future of medicine is frequency medicine. We know that that's always been medicine and maybe even the forgotten medicine. So a lot of us are trapped in our bodies and our emotions. There's dis-ease in our body, things that are not coherent. And it may not just be because of our environment. That's a part of it. But a big part is also our thoughts and our emotions. And so I really wanted to dive in to this topic today and really connect with you, Igor, and help us get tips on how we can shift our state, how we can elevate our own body's frequencies and really alchemize into a more coherent healing state. And also, how do we know? Like, this is what I would love to start with is we'll go into your story, but I want to start first with how do you even know if you have trapped emotions? Because we all have things that we don't uncover until later, right? It's like an aha moment, a moment where it's like, oh my gosh, this whole time I've been angry or hurt because this event that occurred and I totally forgot about it and how I've been suppressing it, or these situations. How do people tap into that and get connected with their body?
Well, hi Tracy. Thank you for having me here. I think the emotional state is the state that drives us, and we're very well aware that the way we respond, the way we react to things, especially the dialogue that we have inside of ourselves. Is it emotional that we're having? Is it speaking out of anger, frustration? All of those indicators are telling us that there's trapped emotions, and it, you know we should completely we not that we should when we come from a space of neutrality, we can observe, but soon as we take a side, good or bad, now we're playing an emotional game. And to transform that is to perceive from neutrality. So I would like to utilize the higher self, right? So look from the higher self. How did the higher self look at this? How would, let's say, Jesus would look at this? How did Buddha look at this? Or an ascended master, at certain situations? And when we take a look at that, we right away say, wait a minute. They would look at it from this perspective of how to guide it back into neutrality, into harmony, into peace, into love, into understanding, acceptance. And this is one of the things. But the most important part is feeling, because we are creatures of feeling sensation. And that is what allows us to tap into the energy bodies. Because the energy bodies do not communicate in words, they communicate in frequency, vibration of feeling, sensations. You come next to a person and you kind of feel like, oh my God, feels so good next to this person. Just my heart opens up, or I get these tingling sensations in my belly, right? Or sometimes you come next to a person, you're like, I need to leave. This is not the atmosphere for me. Even though I wanted to go there, I wanted to experience it, I just don't feel good. It feels pressure. That is our emotional body talking to us.
Yeah.
This is our softness, our gentleness. And I feel like the more we become aware of that space, the more congruent we become with our higher self, with our heart, with our divine soul's blueprint of how we should experience, or how it wants us to experience life to its fullest.
Okay.
So this is like a playground. This whole place is a playground. And the with age, we become more experienced, we become more aware, and we start to realize what things we want, what we don't want, and how we should experience life. And all of those are guided by our emotional state.
Yeah, I love how you said it's a playground. That's a total perspective shift where instead of it being a place where you emotions can feel like you're trapped in them or there's something that is out taking over you that you can't control, for you to look at it as a playground where it's like I get to play in this, and there's movement. There, it's not stuck. I love that. Tell us a little bit about how you came to understand this. I'm sure you had moments in your life where you felt trapped by your emotions, especially in society. Women, we feel like younger, maybe a little bit more, we have this intuition, we're a little bit more connected. And in our society, men are not encouraged as much to be connected to that. So coming from a man's perspective, growing up, and maybe tell us a little bit about what happened for you and how you had this enlightenment that you say you have a sharp enlightened
Yeah.
moment that changed everything for you. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I had a very sharp awakening in 2004. And I wasn't expecting to have this awakening. I went to Brazil with my mother because she needed some help. So they heard of this healer. So I went there with her and I had a sharp awakening. And when I had my sharp awakening, I started to feel and see energy. I started to sense everything, like to the point I can feel the trees, I can feel the bushes, I can feel the butterflies. Everything had different frequency vibrations. And when I started to see things, it became chaotic for me. I could not participate in this reality. So I had to go into my own space. That's where I felt at peace. I had to be next to nature. I couldn't be in the physical reality. I grew up in a Middle Eastern environment where my father did not express his emotions. And when I went through my awakening, I started to realize that. And I said, wait a minute, if I am full potential of God, and God is everything, then I need to experience everything. So I started to go into myself and see, wait, my father behaves this way. I need to change that because I'm behaving this way. And I started to change those things within myself. And the more I changed it, the more I realized my intuitive skills expanded even more. The more softer and gentler I became within myself, the more the gifts came online, you can say. Right? And they
Mm.
were able to anchor in deeper because these belief systems are preventing our divine source to anchor in. For women, it's different. For men, it's different because we grow up from childhood saying, don't express your feelings, got to keep it in. Because if you express it, you're going to be punished for it. And so we have to learn how to open up because, just like women, men go through problems as well.
Yeah.
They have their own issues, but they keep it inside. Am I strong enough? Do I look good? Am I providing enough? Am I good sexually? Am I supporting my partner? Because all of those things they question inside, but they don't speak it. For women, it's easier. They come together, they express themselves, they talk about things. Men, no. How's the football game? Did you see that one? Yeah. How much are you bench pressing? So it's a different perspective. But now the world is awakening, right? And then we see men are like, okay, in the spiritual community, some men are becoming very gentle too. And they're becoming so gentle that there is no space for a divine feminine. So there's got to be a balance between that masculine and that feminine. So we got to be gentle, but we got to be a strong pillar inside as well.
Mm.
So it is knowing how to step forward and when to step back. And that is where the intuitive side comes in, especially from the once we start to operate in the field, right, in the quantum field or the energy bodies, because each energy body has its own rotational spin. That's what I mean. Energy bodies is emotional body, mental body, astral body, causal body, galactic body, essence body. So there are energy bodies in layers, but in that space, there is lots of programming of our beliefs and our emotions, which we picked up from our society, our families, as we grew up. And then we start to express them in reality. So for me was that part where I started to basically see the belief systems that I picked up from my family, and I started to change them. I saw belief systems from my mother. I saw belief systems from my father. And then I started to work in the energetic field where I saw that where he picked it up from his father and grandfather and so forth. And the opposite direction of my mother as well. And as I started to work through those parts, I noticed that I'm actually healing myself through that as well because I had
Mm,
severe allergies.
really?
Summertime was a lot of allergies. And then I noticed that why am I having these allergies?
Yeah.
Because my mind was having judgmental beliefs. At certain seasons, these beliefs expanded. And I was like, wow. And I started to go deeper into the brain and see where they are in the nervous system. As I'm telling you this, I can feel it even more. Right? It started to open up. As it started to open up, I realized, wait a minute, these are judgmental beliefs that I picked up from my mom, right? Or I picked up from my friends. As I started to clear them out, gone. Everything just was gone. I didn't have to take no allergy pills or anything like that. I was like, wait a minute, I can do that with everything. So I started to go with every organ, every part of my body, feeling inside. What am I feeling? Where's there stagnant energy? I started to look for darkness inside of it. And I started to transform that space. So when I started to do that, that's was like, wow, this is actually healing. And then I was like, it's not really healing. We're just aligning to our true essence. So when we align to our true essence, healing takes place naturally.
Thank you for sharing that. I can feel what you're saying. I feel like there's resonance, similar experience in that when we have awareness, we're able to actually have the opportunity to go into that space and ask questions and get curious and transform it. But I would love to know practically, how did this awareness come? Because that's where I feel like a lot of us can get stuck, is not being aware of what is stuck, not being aware of where these things are that are, like you call, dark or trapped, or the stagnation. Break down some practical ways that people can start to uncover this. One of my favorite things to do when I prep for the gym is to get my blood moving. And the way that I do that is by reducing inflammation and adding some nitric oxide to my blood. I love HydroShot. Not only does it taste delicious, but it has hydrogen gas infused into the can, as well as natural occurring nitric oxide from watermelon rind with green tea, and it's 0 calories. We all know that an essential piece of staying hydrated is electrolytes. Electrolytes, what are those? Those are basically minerals in a liquid solution. And not all electrolytes are made the same. We want one that has all the building blocks for life so that we can build healthy new cells. And the way we do that is having all of our minerals and trace elements balanced and complete. And that's why I love Quinton minerals. Not only do you get all 78 trace elements that your body needs, but Quinton is cold processed and harvested during the plankton bloom on the ocean's floor, where there's so much bioenergetic information that pertains to life. And they capture that information in this double tip ampule. So all you do is open the ampule, put it in your favorite drink, in your water, or you can even put it under your tongue.
Okay. Tools.
Yes.
Tools are the greatest things, which I love as well, because I think, first of all, we're visual beings. We like to see things. So I like to use lots of different art for people to give an idea. So one of the tools that I like to utilize is, first we need to learn how to feel energy, right? So a lot of people say, I cannot feel energy or cannot bring awareness. Bringing awareness is very easy. It's like, basically, okay, you have your palm of your hand. So can you bring awareness to your finger, right? And you started practicing. So the more you practice bringing awareness to fingers, size of your face, feeling the body, the more the neurons inside the brain will start to amplify, and the visual cortex and the sensory cortex will amplify more and will start to utilize that part. So some of the tools I like to use is like take a pinky, you pinch it really, really, really hard. If people that are watching there, pinch it really hard and let it go. And now you'll feel like a little pulsation there. Now
Mm-hmm.
that you feel a pulsation, see if you can mentally move that pulsation to the next finger, and then the next finger, and then the next finger. And then you bring it into the center of your palm and feel the pulsation in the center of the palm. The more we practice playing with energy, the more our awareness will start to expand, because we get confused. Am I feeling this? Is this correct? We start to question. Why we question is because we don't trust ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the more we play with that, the more trust will start to develop. And when the trust starts to develop, now your consciousness, it sees a channel and says, I can communicate with you through these sensories. And it starts to communicate, it starts to express things, and you start to feel things, you start to see things, because practice makes it better, you
Mm.
know? So children is great with that because they're like completely, their blueprint template is clean. So they get into that stuff right away, you know? But for adults, because we've been in this density for so long, it takes time. So you got to practice every day. Practice this for 21 days, whatever you do, from a moon cycle, from one moon cycle to another, you'll see a shift because you're transforming the template into time. So when you practice this for 21 days, whatever it is that you're doing, your template will change. That's why we have moon cycle, right? And women go through their moon cycles. And that's a very important time period of transformation that takes place, and the cells will remember that. So therefore, the mind doesn't always have to do it. Your cells will already remember
Mm-hmm.
that sensation, and then you'll expand from there. The other part is visualization. We're visual beings. Artwork is very important because, picture speaks a thousand words. And when we have different artwork, some technique I like to use is also take a look at an artwork, let's say like a divine being or something, right? A beautiful halo and angel wings, or an expanded auric field, or some sort of a artwork. Sometimes you look at it and be like, oh wow, this is really activating, like you feel an activation. Whoever's watching, look at that artwork, blink at it 10 times, like blink, 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 blink 10 times. Close your eyes, bring that vision into the back of the head, and send it to your higher self. Literally, like send it to your higher self. That image becomes an imprint in your energy field, and you let it go. And once that imprint takes into your energy field, within days or so, it will start to present itself when it's needed. So your higher self knows when to present that information to you, and it will express itself in your 3D reality. There's so many different tools that we can utilize, but just these two are like my one of my favorites that I like to teach.
I love that second tool. I love both of the tools. But the second one is very interesting because I love to watch the sunset at nighttime. I live near Sunset Cliffs, and every night it's like God is showing off, this like new amazing art. And we love to take a photo of it because we want to remember it. And I tell myself, like, it's better for me to put it in my nervous system and hold it in my cells than have it in these cells in my phone. And I love that practical tip of looking at the sunset and just blinking 10 times and then consciously telling myself I'm gonna, what did you say, put it back in my higher self?
Yeah, you bring it into the back of the head, the vision,
Okay.
because you have the visual cortex there, and it
Okay.
activates the pineal gland as well, right? And from there, you send it up because the pineal gland is a doorway to other dimensions. The pineal gland is a doorway to other dimensions, and it will take that energy right into the other dimension. So then the higher self says, "Oh, you're creating space for me to express in this 3D reality."
Okay. Wow, that's a great tip. I think we can all do that because we're
Oh, yeah.
so used to wanting to capture things in a photo now or on a video. It's like, wait, hold on, let's recreate that. I want to get this in a video or a photo. And half the time we don't even look back at them. It's like we're just forgetting about it. Okay, so I love how you were talking about moving the energy, like pinching your pinky, and then, yeah, you feel that pulsation, and then paying attention to telling your body to move it to the next finger and the next finger and then your palm. So what we're doing is we're practicing feeling energy in our body. And I really like that you're talking about that brings trust, because I know for myself, I am very intuitive, and I think everybody really is. We're born very intuitive. There's just things that build walls from that prevent us from, it's almost like barriers that we've created to protect ourselves, but really it's there, but maybe we're not getting in touch with it. So when, like, we can recognize that we all have this intuition within us. I don't think it's fair to say you're intuitive, you're not intuitive. Almost probably we're all beings made from light, from God, and that's all frequency, energy, and so we can feel it. But it's learning how to connect with that, and to your point, trusting it. Like you mentioned, when you walk into a room or you're around somebody and you can feel like, wow, this feels really good, or it doesn't. Like taking the judgment out of why you feel that way and just recognizing, I honor myself that for some reason I feel this way. And it doesn't mean there's something bad about this person. And I don't need to judge what it is, but I get to honor that this is coming up for me and learn to trust that that's there for a reason. And it's to protect us, right? And so what do you do with those kind of things? Like you mentioned going to somewhere and you're like, I wanted to come here, but I don't feel, it doesn't feel right now. What can someone do in a situation like that? How do you handle those kind of situations?
See, we their intuition is important to listen to our intuition. Uh, and sometimes the intuition tells you it's not your place to go, but you want to go because you made a promise to your friends or this or some sort of event, and you want to go, and then you come back and you feel exhausted. Sometimes the intuition has something better for you, but when you do go to those places and you do feel like you picked up a lot of energy, this is a great opportunity for each individual to go deeper within and see what energy fields need to be addressed in order to become a stronger light. Usually when we pick up energy from other places is because we have judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Once we have judgment, we're opening ourselves up for negativity. But if you observe and just observe, even chaos is going on, you observe, you'll be fine. You know, but once you interact with that energy, you open up a doorway. So that shows you, okay, how do I stay centered? This is what I used to do. I would get up in the mornings and be like, okay, I feel great, amazing today. And all of a sudden I go into Walmart and then I come out from there and I go into my cocoon for 3 days because I'm feeling the energy, right? So for 3 days, I'm meditating, clearing myself out again. And I was like, okay, I feel better. Let's go back again. I would go back again. And again, I would feel bad. Then I started to notice that I'm judging. I'm judging.
Mm-hmm.
I'm judging the signs. There's subconscious beliefs that I have that I'm not even aware of. So I started to practice like that with myself deeper and deeper until I started to release all the belief systems. Once we expand our awareness into the field, we'll understand in which part of the field these emotions and these sensations are stored. Then we can change them. They're like little spheres of light, okay, or dark crystals, you can say, that need your attention and awareness, and you can transform them through the intuitive process. But this is where stillness comes in, focus comes in, and when we're able to be still and focused, that's when we can transform things. Because until then, those things will constantly pull us and push us in different directions. One of the things that takes place in the physical body is the gland system, right? So we have glands in the body. These glands, each one is a chakra system, right? So each one has a mind of its own. It has a belief system of its own. Like first chakra has belief system of survival, second of intimacy, right? Willpower. So each one, and then when these glands operate at a higher frequency, they will no longer pull you because till then the gland system feels something in a different field, and it pulls you and says, okay, let's go here, let's do this. Or you have an idea, but how do you know that idea came that is for you?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it coming from somebody else's energy field that you're tapping into? So the pituitary gland, right, between the eyebrows here, that is a powerful center. The pituitary gland, when it's fully activated, it becomes the size of a penny. And if we can expand the pituitary gland, the rest of the gland system will align, and then they will no longer be deviated and pulled to the sides by somebody else's desire, but they will be aligned to your true desires of what's coming in for you from your higher self.
That's really interesting because I think all of us can say we've had moments in our lives where you're questioning, right? Like, is this right? Is this not right? I'm feeling this. And you wonder, well, maybe some people don't wonder this, but I wonder, like, is this my energy or someone else's energy coming in, right? Like you said. So, um, you ever hear like Tesla didn't like to give people hugs or shake hands because he didn't want to be connected, entangled in someone else's energy space. And I just thought that was fascinating because we can go to parties, people nowadays on dating apps, sleeping with someone that they just met on the same night, like really getting entangled in someone's energy space and their, like, not just theirs, but when you're having sex with somebody, you're getting involved in that the person they slept with before, their energy space. And it's like we can get very confused because there's a lot of smudge in the field, right? So you're talking about activating the glands and help so that it helps us understand better. Can you give us some more tools on how to do that? Like, how
Mm.
do we get our glands healthy and aligned so that we can be more in our more grounded in our energy space?
So we have the three major glands in the brain, okay, and then we have the glands: the thyroid gland, the thymus gland, the kidney gland, the pancreas, the ovaries, and the testicles. So I would start from the bottom, right? Because that's like the Kundalini activation. Women, ovaries, they need to massage those ovaries every single day. Men, testicles, also massage them every single day. Why? Because the ovaries and the testicles are strictly connected to the kidneys, kidney glands. So when we massage those spaces and they're tender, right, or they're in pain, that shows that there's stagnant energy there. Those organs store fear, discomfort, regret, resentment, aggressiveness, all of that is stored, all the negative parts there. So by massaging those spaces, we're actually alleviating and activating the blood flow there and alleviating all the stagnant energy there. For men, it's easier to massage the testicles, but for women, if you make a pyramid and you face it downwards like this, right? And the wedding finger is where your ovaries would land, so you can massage from your belly button, basically, like this. The wedding fingers would be where your ovaries are. So massaging those spaces is very important because we have lots of trauma that's being stored there. And if it's
Mm-hmm.
tender, you're actually allowing yourself to release it. First is the physical part. We have to soften up the body so it becomes fluid, like a dancer. And then we can get into the energy because now the energy can communicate with the physical body. It's soft, it's gentle, it opens up, and she feels safe now. So this is the processes that we have to go through. Pancreas gland, we have to learn how to breathe into that space. So there's different breathing techniques that can be utilized. The thymus gland also, and the thyroid gland, especially the thyroid gland, a lot of people have issues these days is because their mind is overactive or underactive, or they're not expressing themselves. So then their mind becomes busy, they go to sleep, and then at night they're like, I should have said this, I should have done that, I'm going to do this tomorrow. They're everywhere but in their present moment. The glands in these spaces are overactive, so we have to activate these glands. In the course, I go through all of this. We go through a whole activation of different parts of the body, different parts of the glands, and how all of it relates to your energy body, how the nervous system works with different mental and emotional and astral body. And when we get to those levels of energy, your whole physical body starts to recalibrate itself. It's like you don't even have to do the healing. You have to become aware of these spaces And the more aware you become, the more they step into their light themselves because they want to be illuminated.
Mm.
Our belief systems are stored in those glands.
Wow.
So they're stored in the field, but they connect into the glands, which is the
Okay.
chakra systems.
You answered my first question so powerfully right now. When we first started, it was like, how do we even know what feelings are trapped? How do we even know? Sometimes they're so blocked. And so the portal, you're saying, well, maybe one of the portals is to really get our glands healthy by massaging them, putting intention and attention into these glands. And as they get healthy and lubricated, they're going to start connecting so that your chakra systems are more aligned, and then that's where we're going to be able to connect into um, our morphogenetic field, and that's going to be able to be the portal. Because if there's blocks in the physical or there's blocks in the field, those are all, the blocks in the field are starting, right? That's like almost like the blueprint of our physical body. And so if there's distortion in the morphogenetic field, then our physical body is going to be distorted. And
Exactly.
one, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so these are great tools. So give us some more tools besides massaging. What are other ways that we can activate our glands, get them healthier and more connected and aligned?
Well, obviously, movement. Movement is important. Breath work is important. I would always start off everything with breath work first. Breath is important because fish underwater breathe air. So oxygen is the most important part. Learning how to breathe into different parts of the body, not just breathing in, but breathing into the liver, breathing into your sacrum, breathing into your ovaries, breathing in to different parts of the body. Uh, because most of the time we're only breathing into our chest or our belly. But becoming so aware that you can expand that part of yourself and guide the breath into different parts, you're now activating different part of yourself. That's one. Then the other part is moving the energy. Because if you learn how to move energy, your physical body will start to heal itself within minutes, days, or hours.
Mm,
How? Because energy creates matter. If energy creates matter, why are we trying always to heal physical body? Matter.
right.
Because this body is just a processor of what the field is holding.
Yeah.
If it's the processor, where does it process from? How does it receive? So like we know from Taoism, liver stores anger, anxiety in the spleen, fear in the kidneys, sadness in the lungs, right? So large intestine, right, releases stuff, and sometimes people have constipation, can't go to the bathroom. That shows how your mind is. It's not releasing stuff.
Mm,
It's holding on. Your small
yeah.
intestine absorbs nutrients. And if it has hard times absorbing nutrients, that shows how you absorb information or you're creating your own story. And then you're absorbing
Wow.
information. You're
Whoa.
twisting it.
That's potent.
So, yeah. And then when we start to get into the field, we're like, oh, wait a minute. This is where it's all connecting to.
Yes.
Uh-huh. And then we start to understand what's going on with the brainstem.
Yeah.
That's different parts, right? And what's going on with our jaw? Why am I clenching my jaw? That has to do with the anger that's stored in the liver. What are you angry at? Because you cannot be angry at the future because you don't know it. But
Yeah.
you can be angry at the past. So you will know, the right side has to do with the past, the left side has to do with the future, the spleen, because you have anxiety, you don't know what's coming. So these things, and as we start to work with the body and we start to put it together, the more we adjust and synchronize ourselves with our field, the more intuitive and the more light body we become.
Mm,
So it's not becoming lighter, like you're going to heaven. You're becoming a lighter body,
yes.
less density,
Yeah.
energetic density that cannot be
Wow.
measured because it's an ether. Ether is the fifth element. Without ether, none of the elements can exist. So, how do we find balance through that? And we start to go through these different spaces by bringing awareness. Because, see, consciousness is already expanded. It's already pure. It's light. It's powerful. It's there. It's our awareness that is not there. And when we expand our awareness into the consciousness, now we start to understand what's taking place, because the emotional body has a different rotational spin. The mental body has a different rotational spin. And when we understand these rotational spins, we understand that everything spirals.
What you're saying is so interesting and super powerful. Now, I want to catapult off of what you've been talking about and talk about something that most people are going to probably find controversial and uh, almost like scary in our world. So, when you talk about energy, moving energy, and you're talking about, feeling into our field, there's a lot of charlatans out there. People, especially um, men that I know of, there women are like this too, but men that use this, what they would call like a sacred sexuality, to lure women into a relationship, or telling them that they're going to help them, or they can see things, or whatever it is. And that's prevalent in this world that we live in right now. When I was a lot younger, a teenager, I don't remember this as much, but now it's like in this spiritual community, we can get people that energy is all around us, right? It's something that everybody can tap into. But what is the intention that someone's tapping into it for? Is it for self gain? Is it to manipulate? Or is it to love at a higher level? And I would love for you to talk on this topic, because it's a super hot topic, and it's something that a lot of my girlfriends, like living in Southern California and LA, trying to, my girlfriends dating new guys, this is a big thing that comes up a lot, is like, oh, he seemed so great, so connected, so spiritual. And then it ends up, it was being used for something that wasn't real love, it's like to manipulate sexually. So, can you talk about that?
I'll tell you what my work is. We're talking about moving energy. So if you teach a person how to master their own energy field, they become a master of their own field. The thing is that I don't allow anybody to do healings on me, and I don't do healings on people.
Okay.
Okay, those parts are still based off, I would say, the personality. So the whole thing is to teach people how to get into their field and understand their own dimension. When they can understand their own dimension, now they become sovereign. This is what I know of. But when we talk about people are misleading or misguiding one another, right? This part of misleading and misguiding is because there's a desire. There's a desire. There's a desire to connect. There's a desire to be touched, to be felt, to be intimate, which is a normal part of our humanity. But we have to have discernment. The thing is that nobody waits anymore. Everybody rushes into things.
Mm, okay.
So this is how they say, if a person, you become with a person, with somebody, right? If you don't give them what they want, you'll see the true side of them. If you don't give them what they want, they will express themselves, who they truly are.
Yeah.
Why are we rushing so quickly to connect with somebody? What is
Mm,
the desire inside? Why did we attract this person? Maybe there was a karmic connection. Maybe there wasn't. Maybe there's a lesson that these two people came to teach one another, you know, because these days there's so much on the web that it's very disturbing, because people are constantly chasing something that they want, what they saw somewhere else, but they
okay.
can't connect to themselves. This is where I teach is like, learn how to master your energy, and you learn how to master your energy, you will not be manipulated by other outside forces.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when we first have our awakening, people become very soft, very gentle, and they believe that everything is, the divine is guiding them. No, you just have been awakened to have discernment.
Mm,
And this is what you're learning. You have to stand in your light and you have to be patient and you have to see what is truly there for you.
yeah.
Not to run away with your dreams in your mind, because our mind can create stories and we think that this is a fairy tale, that I'm going to go with this guy and he's going to be the Prince Charming. And we all then wake up from a Disney story.
Yeah.
And men do the same because everybody's looking for that one partner.
Yep.
But the way we are headed right now as a society, we don't have focus. Our focus is less than 5 minutes and that's it.
Mm,
The internet is constantly giving us um, activations, this high inside our body, and it's like, okay, I want something, that dopamine rush, right? And then we start to look for that in relationships unconsciously, and we start to look for that dopamine rush, and we think that this person has to look like it is in the piece of paper. I'm sorry, relationships are work. You will not have something smooth. They will go through ups and downs. So we have to learn how to find a balance and work through them, which most people don't want to do.
yeah. Yeah.
And I have daughters myself. I have 3 daughters, 18, 17, or 19, 17, and 13. And this is one thing that I teach them is learn how to be in your pillar. Ask the question always, why and what are you rushing into?
Mm,
What is the after effect? Can you see the after effect,
yeah.
or you can wait? Because we can all step into that space very quickly. But when we step into that space, now we're energetically connected. It's like 2 electrons interconnect, right? Creating this Vesica Pisces energy. And now that they're connected, they could be different parts of the world, but yet they feel one another. So what's now taking place is emotional exchange. Neither one has done their work, and now they're trauma bonding, and they call it love.
Mm-hmm.
So what's been coming up for me, I'll share. I was in Egypt in 2004 in November, and I had a very powerful experience where we came to a temple and I saw the energy of Yahshua and Miriam. And when I saw those two energies represented union, union, you know. And when I saw that, I knew that this was a marriage, a union within my masculine and feminine. Until we stop searching for the one and recognize that within ourselves, I don't think we fully will meet that one is outside of us. We're, especially those that are awakened, we're looking for love because we need to fulfill an aspect of ourselves inside. And I've been having this deep realization for this past year or so. It's like Shiva never looked for Shakti. He found her within himself. The one that is searching is not complete. And if it's truly divinely meant to be, it will come without a heightened emotion. Because if there's a heightened emotion, that's trauma bonding.
Yeah. Definitely.
And this is what we're chasing. We feel that heightened emotion, and people right away get into these relationships and they feel like this is the person for me. You're trauma bonding. Be patient.
Mm, that's so good. Yeah, you're right. There's not a lot of patience in our society anymore. Getting addicted to the molecule of dopamine, which that molecule is anticipation. What's next? What's next? What's next? And you're not actually paying attention and focusing to what is and what's here right now, and being patient to just watch and let things unfold and witness, because you said something really powerful. You're going to see who someone truly is when they don't get what they want, right? So if there's a motivation other than love, and it's a motivation that's self-seeking, that will be revealed, but it needs to take time. So you said something interesting, that you don't do healings and you don't allow people to do healings on you. Can you speak into that a little deeper, please?
So when I had my awakening in 2004, I was like basically an open portal Okay. I had all the gifts. I can see, I can tap into everything. I can move energy. I can heal people, but I didn't have any wisdom. So I started to walk around and heal people because I felt like it was my guidance, right? Afterwards, I started to realize that I'm having pain after the healing that I did to people. I started to see that people are not learning. They're not learning after I do the healing. Their problems could come back because what I was doing, I was picking up on their karma instead of guiding them. So I started to kind of dive deeper, and I spent 10 years in my own space, and I came up with a was downloaded with a program of how to guide each individual to be sovereign. If you learn how to heal yourself, you're healing permanently through all timelines and dimensions, through your core soul level. But if somebody else does it, it still stays there. You might not feel it, but it stays in the energy. So therefore, the karma will repeat. True
Mm.
liberation is when you truly forgave somebody. What is forgiveness? When you forgive somebody and you don't even remember the event that took place.
Mm-hmm.
If you still have a memory of it, that means the trauma is still lingering in the field.
Yeah.
So when it's out of the field completely, you know you transformed. And so that's why I started to create teachings and different tools is to guide people of how to move their own energy. Now that you know how to sway the energy of your own soul, you are healing yourself through the past and the future simultaneously into illumination of the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom does not come from somebody doing something for you. If you are God, goddess, then you have to learn how to be in your space of the divine light that you truly are. And when you step into that, then you become the goddess and God that you're meant to be, because now you're swaying your own space. It's like the sun, and you have all the planets around it. When Mercury goes retrograde or Jupiter goes retrograde, right? The other planets don't get upset and say, "Oh, wait a minute, we're not going to move until Mercury comes out of retrograde." No, they still continue working. Why? Because the sun, the core, holds everything in balance. So you have to learn how to become the sun inside of yourself. That field, when it expands so brightly, so powerfully, that you'll be able to hold your space without anybody else affecting you, that's when you know you have transformed yourself. And when they do affect you, that is even a greater lesson to go deeper inside yourself and see which parts am I still struggling inside? Which part am I giving away of myself and not having true discernment within my own pillar?
I agree with everything that you said there, except one thing.
Mhm.
And I think that there's a big distinction between, so, and I would like to hear what you mean when you say that we are a god or a goddess. What, can you explain to me what that means to you?
Yeah. Let's say you're an electron, right? Your field, your toroidal field. This is your own space. You're the god and goddess of that space. Within that space, you are a universe. So
Okay.
that is your domain. How can you not be in charge of your domain? How can something outside of you influence you to do something or be someone that you're not?
Mm. So that's going back to, you're referring to almost like the sovereignty of
Yeah.
what God has given us. We are our own divine, our own divine being that God created. Um, but I think that there's a distinction that I see in the scriptures, how uh, it talks about how where we fell from our wisdom and discernment and grace from God is when we started worshiping the creation instead of the creator.
You
And I
referring.
hear,
Mhm.
huh?
No, go ahead, Tracy. Go ahead.
And I hear this a lot, like in spiritual talk, where it's like, I'm a god, a goddess. That's why I wanted to ask you what you meant by it, because we are created by the divine creator. We are the creation, and we get to worship and honor our creator and understand that we are sovereign. And we weren't made robots. We were made these beautiful sovereign beings that we get to choose. Holy Spirit, do I want to invite you into this story so we can co-create together? And I want to create with co-create with divine, um, because you've given me the choice to do that. To say, I'm my own person and I'm just going to do this on my own. Or I recognize you are my creator. I recognize you are the one with infinite power, and I want to tap into you and abide in you and co-create in this life together. And there is a huge distinction. And when you go back to that question I was asking you about how there's charlatans, there's people that are saying, you know, they're these spiritual beings and they want to move energy and they want to do all these things. Is it that they are calling upon divine to say, I want to be used as a conduit by you? Or I'm saying, I'm God, and yes, I do have this energy that God's given me sovereignly, and I'm going to just tap into my own portal and do it on my own initiative. That's very different.
So you are your own portal, you are your own goddess, but within the macro, there's micro. We're the micro. And within the macro of source of Elohimic consciousness, right? If we go to the Old Testament, the Elohim were the creators of the universe, and they made us in their image. So it's speaking plural, but you're also talking about the book of Enoch, where the fallen angels came. Yeah, is that what you're referring to?
No, I was referring to a scripture in Romans. It's Romans 1:25. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator. And then 1:22-23 is, although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like a mortal human being, and the birds and the animals and the reptiles. So it's starting to worship the creation, where it's like, we recognize there's energy. You can look at a crystal, any crystalline structure. We're crystalline beings, and so we receive and emit information, energy, light. I mean, it's like you said, we're this matter that we look at. It's not really. It can be lighter, moving more, less dense. There's so much to it, but we get to choose. Do I recognize that all of this that's happening, this divine miracle, is because there is a creator who created all this and organized it all, and I am here to live in worship to this creator and connect. I mean, really, you were talking about, when you made such a great point about relationships and how people dive into them without being patient because there's a desire, there's something that we want, and every human on this earth desires to connect. It is such a big part of our health and wellness. I mean, if we are on an island by ourselves, we're not going to be healthy on our own, but ultimately we're looking for it in another being, another human. When our fullness comes when we abide in our creator and connect so deeply that, like you mentioned, we're not needing someone else outside of us anymore, because we're like, oh my gosh, you filled me with your light. I am so enamored by you. I can't wait to spend time with you. I can't wait to pray and worship you and be in nature and see all the things you've made. And like, oh my gosh, look how the bees make these hexagonal structures and this dripping with honey, and like, you did this, and to worship and get into it, and our whole body and everything comes alive, and how the sun is touching our skin and activating our mitochondria, and we're touching the earth and we're getting charged. Everything that we need, our creator has given to us, and we are just held and we are loved, and it's like, when you get into it, even just talking about it, I'm like, oh, I feel so full. But yet we have this deception that someone else is going to give it to us. We want the easy route, the dopamine hit of what's next? That person didn't give it to me. Maybe this person will. Maybe that thing. Maybe if I have this drink, this food, this event, this trip, whatever it is, we're trying to find that feeling, that connection, when it's always there. But I think that's where my perception is, that we can get this misconception that I'm the god, the goddess, so I need to just find everything outside around me, when God is already is our creator, and we are created by the creator. And there's a very big distinction that I think is um, sometimes those lines seem blurred where it becomes gray, and I don't see it as gray. It's like either you believe there's a creator or you believe you are the creator.
The words, like you were describing things right now, right? And you felt that it came through your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Words cannot describe those things, but sometimes keywords activate certain parts of our consciousness to bring our sovereignty back. Does not mean I'm a god and bow down to me. Means that I'm a god of my own space. I'm in charge of my hands. I do what I choose because I'm in control. But if your hand moves on its own and you don't know what you're doing, then how are you supposed to live in your reality? If something else possessing you, or you're in charge of your space. And the only space that it all comes from is your heart, right? So this is one of the things, is when we find stillness, when we go beyond the desires of the mind, of the little ego mind that constantly wants something, and we surrender to this purity of our source, of our I like to call it Elohimic consciousness, or pure crystalline consciousness, because in that space there is a surrender that takes place. There is a softness that takes place. Then we understand what really takes place in our reality, because now you become a co-creator with the higher dimension of existence.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask you that, because I think, like, you're talking about words and the language that we use can create divisions, and it can
Yeah.
create misunderstandings, and for us to even ask ourselves, and that's how we can I believe love at the highest level is curiosity, and right outside of judgment, because God is the only righteous judge, and only God can judge and search someone's heart.
Yeah.
So it's our job to love and allow God to have that judgment, but ours to get curious so that we can connect and get to know, well, what does that mean for you?
This is Tracy. This is why we started to talk in the very beginning of this podcast regarding the feelings. And if we feel, because the words cannot express what we feel, and the more we feel into that, the more that feeling will express itself based on our own individual blueprint. And this is where the teachings come in for me, is to get a person into their own state of feeling their source, their higher self, their goddess self. Meaning, I'm referring, when I say goddess self, I'm referring to the oversoul, into the crystalline Christed oversoul light. In that Christed oversoul light, all truth in the feelings, because words cannot express those things. It's in the feeling in the heart. When the mind surrenders to the heart, that's when we'll be able to understand what the divine is saying.
Yeah, I love that we brought this full circle back to the
I
beginning
love
of the question. It's not an accident that this happened. This was such a fun conversation. I learned so much, and I'm very grateful for you making time to just teach our listeners what you would call the tools to help us connect to our field so that our physical body can be healthier, because so many of us are trying to take the right pill or do the right exercise, or focusing on this physical being, when there's so much bigger inside the field that we can take care of, that all of a sudden everything in our physical body will just come into alignment. So those were amazing tools. I'm super grateful for you. If anybody wants to learn more about what you do, I know you have some courses. How can they connect with you, Igor?
Sure, they can go to alignmentoflight.com, or they can go to igorgalibov.com, Instagram, YouTube, and all of that. And I also do have courses, online courses, and then in-person retreats. And these retreats are actually like a mentorship program. I also do pilgrimages to different sacred sites. I have some pilgrimages coming up this year, Turkey, and I think Egypt. But right now, I just have Turkey coming up, and then I do have courses for manifestation, courses for self development as how to step into the perfect atom, the atom kadmon. So the atom cell, referring to how to restore our field, how to come back and to clear out the karmic patterns within our energy bodies and our physical. So there's a lot of information to share, definitely. Tracy, thank you so much for holding the space. This was really amazing. I enjoyed the conversations with you. Hopefully, we'll connect again.
Had such a great time with you. Thank you so much, Igor. It's been a great conversation.